Welcome to the second installment of the TOPS 1 New Features video series. This series highlights the feature changes we've made to TOPS 1 in each release. I'm Nicole Beal, Product Manager for TOPS Software. Today, I'll be walking you through the new features that were a part of the 4.1.0.5 feature release. Our first feature to talk about is document management. Before I get into the document management update, I wanted to mention something since I'm here on the community profile page. For each of your communities, you can select a user and mark them as the accountant for the community and the property manager for the community. We've always had merge codes for the property manager, so you can merge that person's information into your form letters. In this release, we added merge codes for the accountant too. Okay. On to document management. Now, document management is a feature that we've updated pretty much everywhere that you can add attachments into the system. I'm going to show you here from the community profile page, but you'll find it on properties and owners and vendors and banks and about 10 other places in the application. We've updated the attachment gallery so that you can scroll through the attachments that you have in this particular agent, or you can click the View All button to view all of the attachments that you have for this agent. You can add files, and you can either do so by selecting files, and you can select multiple files by doing your control and click and then click open, and it'll upload multiple files that way. Or you can drag and drop, so if I just open up a folder and select multiple documents, I can drag those and it will upload all of those documents. So you have both ways of adding attachments into the application. You can also view any of the documents. So if you click on the card, it'll open it up in a new tab and you can view the document. You can email a document. So if I wanted to email this document, I can just click on it and it opens up my new send message feature. You can see I've got one attachment. That's the document that I selected, and then I can just enter in the email address, lookup, or whatever for the person or persons that I want to send this document to. Let me go back to that previous page there. You can edit the document information. So if I don't want this name that means nothing to me as the document name, I can go ahead and change it to association, spelled properly, documents, and I can save that. I can also change the assignment. So if I didn't mean to upload this document to the community profile and I meant to put it on a vendor or an owner, I can just click the X here and look up the correct place for this document. I can also add tags. So if I wanted to tag this document, I can just add a tag and now it's tagged. I can also publish it. So if I wanted to publish this document to owner access or to the attachment gallery, which was that front page, I can do so. When you pin a document, it is pinned, meaning it's the first or among the first documents that you would see on the attachment gallery. I can select multiple documents and then perform actions on them. So underneath the actions menu, you can see I can now email those documents. So it'll do the same thing as the individual email. It'll open up the send message feature, but this time it'll have 3 attachments. I can choose to publish these documents. So if I wanted to publish it to owner access, I could. If I wanted to pin those documents to the top so the homeowners see these documents first, I can pin them as well. So we'll go ahead and do that. I can copy these documents. So if I want them on my community profile page and somewhere else in the application, and then I can copy them to another agent. I can move them. So if all of these were accidentally uploaded to the community profile page and they should have been somewhere else, I can move them to that other location. I can add tags. So if I want to tag all of these with that legal tag that I just created, I can go ahead and tag them all with that item. And then finally I can delete them. So if I wanted to delete these documents, I didn't mean to upload them, or I don't need them anymore, I can select them all and I can delete them. We also have filters so that you can find documents. If you've got a whole lot of documents uploaded, then you can find them by file type. So if I wanted to see all of my documents that were PDF documents or Word docs, I can do that. I could choose by uploaded. So if I wanted to see all of the documents that a particular user uploaded here, I can do that. I can put in a range of dates. So if I want to see all documents that were uploaded in the month of May, I could put that month in as my date range. Name contains, so if I wanted all documents whose name contains collection, I could type that in, or tags. If I wanted all documents that are tagged with legal or tagged with report or tagged with anything, I can do that, as well as where it's published. If I want to see all documents that are published to owner access, then I can easily do that with these filters. The next feature to talk about is signatures. We've added a new signature feature, which will allow you to create or upload electronic signatures for use with AP checks. So I'm on a page for a bank account. And you can see on this bank account page, we've added a new section for authorized signatures. I've gone ahead and already added one signature to this bank account. You can have up to 2 signatures per bank account. So to go ahead and add that second signature, I can either select from the existing signatures I already have in the system, I can create a new signature, or I can upload an existing signature. So if you've already got a signature on file as a JPEG or something, you can upload that and then attach it to the bank account for use with your AP checks. To create a signature, we have this interface that allows you to go ahead and write on the screen the signature. Works great on a tablet, works good on a phone if you've got little fingers, and you can also do it from your regular old computer using a mouse. You can choose different pen colors, so you can do blue pen or black pen, and then you just do your best to write your name. I am using a mouse. So it's okay. Frankly, I'm not very good with my finger either. I do that in restaurants and stuff, and I'm not that good. So after you've done your signature, you would go ahead and give it a name, preferably the name of the person who has signed, and save your signature. And by doing it from here, it's going to save the signature directly to that bank account. So I've gone ahead now and added that second signature to this particular bank account. Now, if I wanted to manage my signatures, I can do so from here. There's a Manage Signatures button that will take me to the listing of all of my signatures. So I can see all of my signatures. I can see how many bank accounts they're linked to and which accounts they are linked to. And I can go ahead and delete the signatures if need be. Now you can see I can't delete a signature if it's attached to a bank account, so I'd have to edit that bank account to remove the signature from it before I can delete the signature. We've also got some filters here, so if I wanted to find a particular signature or all signatures that were attached to accounts on a particular community or bank account, I can do that from here. You can also get to this page from your community's index page. So if I go to my page that lists all of my communities, under the Actions button is a link to signatures, and that will take me here too. So you don't have to come through a bank account to manage your signatures. From this page, you can also create a signature and upload a signature. So again, that's not something that you have to do from a bank account. You can do it from the main index page for the signatures. Now, to print the signatures on your checks, you will need to update your check template with the new signature merge codes. So you want to make sure that you do that before you print your checks, or else your signatures won't print. We updated the bank reconciliation feature to clean up the interface and make it easier to use. Here we are on our updated bank reconciliation screen. At the top of the screen, you have the balance information, so your account balance and your reconciling balance and statement balance and so on. Beneath that, you've got the community bank account information and your entry fields for the statement date and the amount. And then in the lower section is where all of your transaction information is to clear as of that statement date. You have the ability to compact the view of your transactions. So if you want to get rid of some of that white space, maybe scroll a little bit less, you can compact the view. Or you can stick with the standard view if you like a little bit more room to breathe, a little elbow room, get in there and get some work done. When you clear your transactions, clicking the clear button will clear the item based off of the statement date, or if you wanted to, you can go ahead and just select any date that you want and clear it as of that date. We also have a clear all function, which will clear all of the transactions that you hadn't previously cleared as of the statement date, and of course there's an unclear all function as well. As you scroll through the transactions, you'll see that your balances will float at the top. So no matter how far you scroll down, you'll still be able to access those account and reconciliation balance information. And the adjustment bar is included here too. So if you're further down and you need to enter in an adjustment, you don't have to scroll back to the top to access that information. With the adjustments, you still have your service fee and your interest income. Those were always there, but we did update those to allow you to enter in a reference for those. So when you create that entry, you can enter in the reference, and that will print on your detailed trial balance. We added new adjustment features for bank transfer and uncleared bank transactions. Bank transfer allows you to enter in a bank transfer from one account to another. So you just put in the from account, the to account, the amount and the date, and again your reference information, and that will display here for you to clear off of this bank statement and on the bank account for the other side of it, so that you can clear that when you do that bank reconciliation. We've also got some filters in here, so you can filter your transactions based on the start date or end date. The end date's going to default to your statement date. Start date would be if you wanted to see transactions for a particular week or a particular day, if you've got a lot of transactions on your bank statement. Show uncleared and show prior year entries. Those were always there, nothing new there. But we did add some sort options. So these are new. Before it only sorted based on date. Now you can choose to sort by check number. We got a lot of requests for that, so we put that in for you. As well as you can sort by the deposit dates or deposit amounts and the payment amounts. So if you wanted to group your deposits together, clear all those, and then clear the payments after that, or vice versa, you can do that with the sorting. From bank reconciliation, we'll move to accounts receivable, where we have 3 areas that we updated. The first feature we updated in accounts receivable is the export HOA validation feature. And what we did here is we added 2 more formats for that validation file. So you've got your top standard and your top standard whole payment formats. And so if you came over to TOPS 1 from TOPS Professional or TOPS IQ and used one of those formats, we've got those here for you now in the application. The next item that we changed in accounts receivable is the apply charges feature. And we updated the apply charges feature with a lot of the changes that we made to the late fee and interest feature in the previous update. So we've blanked out the post date, so you can't accidentally post your charges for the wrong date. You have to go in and actually set the post date. We added a link to edit the codes, so if you needed to make changes to your codes prior to applying the charges, you can do that. Speaking of the codes, one of the items that we did add is on the codes themselves. If you have a code that is calculated, so based off of the property value, square footage, or percentage of ownership, we added a feature to round that to the nearest dollar. So if you've got any calculated codes and you want those to round to the nearest whole dollar, we added that. Okay, back to apply charges. Once you go ahead and enter in your posting date, you'll see that the charges auto-select for you. So based on the last application date and the frequency, the system will try to let you know which charges ought to be applied. You can always override this and turn things off and on as you choose. We've also added to the special assessment type of codes a start date and an end date. So if the end date on the code is before the post date, then it's not going to select to charge, because it shouldn't automatically charge unless you specifically say to, because it's after that end date. Accruing is the same, with the exception that when you are now accruing transactions outside of the current period, it gives you a soft warning letting you know that, but then you can go ahead and just continue on and accrue your charges without having to go into your accounting setup to change the accounting period so that it's the current period. So we've gotten rid of that inconvenience and made an adjustment there. After the charges have accrued, you've got that similar appearance to the late fees and interest. So you've got the search function if you wanted to search for a specific owner for a transaction, and you've got the different sorting functions here. You've also got the ability to edit the transactions, so you can go ahead and edit either of the charges for the owners, or you can remove the transactions prior to posting. We have added a report. So there is now a report that will print either before you post the transactions or after you post the transactions, so you can print that off at any time regarding this particular apply charge batch. After we go ahead and post our transactions, I want to point out another report. So let me go back to my apply charges activity, and if I look at my apply prepaids, you'll see that we've got a report here too. So the apply prepaids also has a posting report. So we've got that posting report both on the apply charges and on the apply prepaids. The third item that we updated in accounts receivable is in cash receipts. So it's in the process deposits area. So if you have a saved open cash receipt batch, whether it was done via a manual cash receipt entry or a lockbox entry, when you go to edit that saved cash receipt batch, you now have the ability to delete checks out of here. So if you started a cash receipt batch, saved it, went off to do something else, came back, an owner had called and said, please don't cash my check. Now you have the ability to just go ahead and remove that check out of the cash receipt batch, save it again, and then do your posting. Okay, so those are our accounts receivable updates. We also have 3 updates that were made to the accounts payable area of the application. The first change was made on the bill entry screen. When you enter in an invoice, you now have the ability to create a bill for a separate check. So if you enter in using this type, then when you go to print your checks, and I can show you that, it will print on a separate check. So if I go into my print checks feature and I choose a separate check bill that I have, and same vendor, I can choose like 2 other bills, and then go ahead. Oh, before I print checks, I should mention, okay, so technically this makes 4 updates to accounts payable, but I think really we had 4 or 5 in AR, so don't tell anybody. Anywho, we've got this pre-check printing report. So what this will do is it'll show you all of the items that have been selected, what the bank balance is existing, projected payables, and your projected bank balance. So you can deliver that to the property manager or board member prior to actually printing the checks, so they can sign off and approve on those checks to be printed. If I go ahead and print my checks, we'll go ahead and print and refresh the page so that I get the notification in my bell dinger. And we look at the check. You can see I have 1 check for the individual invoice and 1 check for the 2 invoices. So that's what that feature does, that separate check feature. The second or third, depending on how you're counting, feature in accounts payable that we updated was in the adjustments area. So when you go to make an adjustment to an existing payable, say I want to cancel this one, we added a post and add new button. So you can go ahead, post that, and then select a different item, cancel, mark as paid, whichever you choose. It just makes making these adjustments a lot faster because you don't have to go back out and in again. It keeps you on this screen. So that's number 2. And the third item is in vendors, which I'm lumping in with accounts payable because that's where it lives on the menu. But in vendors, we've added a community selector here. So if I wanted to see all of the vendors that I have in the system, I would choose all communities. If I want to see all of the vendors for a specific community, then I can click on that community and it'll just show me the vendors that have done work in that community. If I select a vendor, I still have that community selector. So if I have the community selected and I'm in a vendor, it's going to show me the balance and the activity for that community. If I switch to all communities, then it's going to show the balance and the activity for that vendor for all communities. And as I switch from community to community, the information changes. The last item to cover in this release are the updates to the reports. We've added quite a few new reports and we've also updated some existing reports. So let's first take a look at the new reports that we added. We'll start with the owner-resident listing. This is a new owner report that will give you a listing of the owners and residents within the community. It's single spaced, so you won't have any of the 2 lines for an owner, so it should give you a clean export. And when you change the sort order, then the columns actually reorder. So right now it's account number, street address, owner name, lot number. If I sort by lot number, then the columns will reorder, so lot number is first, and then street address, owner name, and account number, and so on and so forth. As I go in and I change these items, the columns will sort themselves based on the sorting order that I have chosen. Next report is the AP open item report. So this is going to give the detail of the open items. So it's a little bit different from the aging report. It doesn't give you the aging, the 30, 60, 90 days, but it does give you more detail of your open payables. Next report is the AP detailed check register. So check register, we updated it so that there's a summary version and a detail version. So the summary version is a lot more simplistic. It doesn't include the account information with the commas and all of that. We took that out and we put that in the detail version. So when you choose to include the detail, then you can see the individual invoice information that made up the check, as well as the GL account information as to how those invoices were coded. Since we're sticking with the AP reports, and to move this along a little bit faster, I'm going to use the selector up here instead of going back to the main report menu. So the vendor history report is another one that we updated. We added the ability to enter in a vendor range. So if you wanted to produce the history for more than one vendor at a time, you could do a vendor range. If you leave the first vendor and the last vendor blank, then it will include all of the vendors. You've also got the ability to print on separate pages so that if a vendor's history ends with only on a quarter of a page, if you don't want to start the next vendor on the same page, you don't have to. You can have it print on separate pages, and you've got a show detail option here, as well as printing vendors with no activity. So if you wanted to do a list of vendors and all of their history that included all vendors, you could do that. But we also added a vendor report. So, and that'll give you a listing of your vendors. So this is going to show all of my vendors, not with their history, because it's not the vendor history, it's a vendor report. But I've got a vendor listing now, so I can see all of my vendors, or if I turn that all vendor off, I can put in a range of vendors. I can also, let me turn that back on, include insurance information. So in addition to having the vendor information, mailing address, contact, and so on, whether they get a 1099 and their tax ID information, I can also have their liability and the workers' comp information on this report. And I can sort by that too. So if I wanted to sort by the insurance expiration information, I can do so. So that's it for the accounts payable reports. In accounts receivable, we updated the cash receipt deposit report. So that now shows you the deposits based on the batch information. So instead of just owners and checks for the date range entered, it now shows you the detail of the batches in each of those date ranges, along with the accounting summary for each of those batches. And if you go all the way to the bottom, you get a total summary there. On the balance sheet, we updated the net income. Let me switch into a community that's got cost centers so that you can now show the net income by cost center. So if I turn that on, click apply, scroll to the bottom, you can see now I have the net income broken out by cost center. If you have that turned off, then it's just going to show you the total net income, which is what it had looked like before. And then on the work order report, let me switch into a community that's got work orders. We updated the export to Excel. So if I go ahead and I export this report to Excel, you'll see that it now exports in a natural format. So here on the screen, I've got several rows for this particular work order. When I open up the Excel export, everything's in individual columns. So if you wanted to take that Excel spreadsheet and import it into another application or sort by one of the columns, you have the ability to do that because everything here is broken out into the individual columns. The last change in reports that I wanted to talk about is in report packages. On each of your report packages, you'll see that we've done an update to include the date range at the top of the report package. So you've got your start date and your end date here, and that will work for all of the reports in the package. So if the report is based off of a range of dates, it'll use those dates. If it's based off of a cutoff date or an ending date, then it'll just use the end date field. It defaults to your current period, but you can change it and you can save it, and then it will save for all of the communities that you use this package for. So you only have to make that change once. That's it, that's all. I consolidated this release down into 6 sections, but in reality there were over 20 new features and updates. Thank you for spending this time with me. If you want to read more about the 4.1.0.5 release, click the link. Bye now.